Did you know that what today constitutes our territory, Guyana, was the result of extensive deliberations and conclusions of a number of binding international judicial decisions? In 1899, the border with Venezuela was settled. In 1906, our border with Brazil was settled. Then, in 1936, the Brazil-Guyana-Suriname tri-junction point was agreed upon. This year, Guyana celebrates our 50th anniversary as an independent nation. Our country also observes another significant milestone, as 2016 marks the 50th anniversary since the signing of the Geneva Agreement. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in an effort to place even greater emphasis on making Guyanese aware of interesting historical facts about our borders, has begun a series of public interest initiatives that are aimed at reinforcing our knowledge of our dear land of Guyana. The Foreign Policy Fact File is one such initiative. To coincide with our 50th anniversary celebrations, the Ministry will be placing in the public domain much factual and historical information on Guyana's territorial integrity, in particular our border with Venezuela. 50 years after independence, all 83,000 square miles or 214,000 square kilometers of this land belong to Guyana and the Guyanese people. A message from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Born in the land of the mighty Roraima.
Did you know that the Geneva Agreement was signed by the United Kingdom, British Guiana and Venezuela at Geneva, Switzerland on 17 February 1966, a mere 4 months before Guyana gained its political independence from the United Kingdom? The agreement was intended to provide Venezuela with an opportunity to substantiate her contention that the arbitral award of 1899, which definitively settled and defined the land border boundary between Guyana and Venezuela, was null and void. Interestingly, Venezuela's contention arose over 60 years after it had accepted the 1899 award as a full, perfect and final settlement of the frontier issues between Guyana and Venezuela, and after a team of British and Venezuelan boundary commissioners demarcated and signed off on a map of the boundary in accordance with the terms of the arbitral award. By virtue of the Geneva Agreement, the parties agreed to establish a mixed commission of British, Guyanese and Venezuelan representatives charged with the task of seeking satisfactory solutions for the practical settlement of the controversy between Venezuela and the United Kingdom. Upon the failure of the mixed commission to arrive at a resolution, the matter was referred to the United Nations Secretary-General, who, under the Geneva Agreement, shall choose any of the means of settlement provided for under Article 33 of the UN Charter. The government of Guyana has requested the United Nations Secretary-General to activate the mechanism of judicial settlement to resolve the existing controversy, which has arisen because of Venezuela's continued and unfounded claim to 5/8 of Guyana's territory. February 17, 2016, marked the 50th anniversary since the signing of the Geneva Agreement. A message from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. At no time in history did Venezuela ever own the Essequibo region, yet they began making claims to it in the early 1800s. To resolve those claims, a legal tribunal of distinguished judges and lawyers was assembled to settle the location of the border between the then British Guiana and Venezuela. Both countries were ably represented by eminent lawyers when they met in Paris, France. Over several months, both sides submitted many documents, maps, and days of oral arguments. On 4th of October 1899, the arbitral award was issued as the full, final, and perfect settlement of the border dispute between the two countries. Both sides accepted the arbitral award, and a team comprising representatives of both countries went to the border, surveyed it, and prepared maps. In 1962, some 60 years after their acceptance of this award as the full and final settlement, Venezuela declared that they would no longer accept the award, igniting a controversy that has lasted up till the present day. Since Venezuela was bent on this claim, which could have prevented Guyana from obtaining independence from Britain, the Geneva Agreement was seen as a logical way for Venezuela to have an opportunity to examine the documents and present their evidence to prove that the arbitral award was null and void. The Geneva Agreement is an international treaty which is legally binding. It provides an agreed legal mechanism for continuing the process started in 1963, that is, of examining the Venezuelan claim. The Geneva Agreement was the result of the 2-day Geneva Conference on the Guyana-Venezuela controversy and was held on the 16th and 17th of February 1966. The agreement specified that a mixed commission of Guyanese and Venezuelan representatives would be established to seek satisfactory solutions for the practical settlement of the controversy between Venezuela and the United Kingdom, which had arisen as a result of the Venezuelan claim that the arbitral award of 1899 about the frontier between British Guyana and Venezuela was null and void. After numerous breaches of the Geneva Agreement by Venezuela, and after having pursued the good offices process to no avail, Guyana is now requesting that the UN Secretary-General use his office, as the Geneva Agreement specifies, to put the controversy to the judicial process at the International Court of Justice. Venezuela's first breach of the Geneva Agreement occurred just 4 months after Guyana attained its independence in October 1966, even as the Mixed Commission was meeting, when Venezuela seized by force Guyana's half of the island of Anccoco in the Cuyuni River. It has remained in occupation of that island ever since, using it as a base for repeated incursions into Guyana territory, harassing miners and engaging in occasional acts of provocation against Guyanese citizens, which are breaches of the Geneva Agreement. The Geneva Agreement is a short document consisting of 8 articles. It has nothing to do with any adjustment or revision of the internationally defined and accepted border between Guyana and its western neighbor Venezuela, but in fact has provided a mechanism for Venezuela to show reason for their contention that the 1899 arbitral award is null and void. Venezuela's aggression, both military and economic, which has continued over all these years, has also been costly and damaging to Guyana, as major investments in the Essequibo have been prevented. On 10 October 2013, the Venezuelan military sent a warship into Guyana's exclusive economic zone to expel an unarmed petroleum exploration vessel. In May and July 2015, Venezuela, in decrees numbered 1.787 and 1.859 respectively, claimed that Guyana's maritime zone belonged to Venezuela and claimed that it was their right to protect it using military force, thus posing a threat to Guyana's use of its maritime resource. As recently as May 30th of 2016, Venezuela military attacked staff of the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission in the Cuyuni, suggesting it was their right to do so. Of course, these actions of Venezuela threaten the peace, security and development of Guyana. Moreover, it has the potential to destabilize a usually peaceful region of the world. The Caribbean community and some of our neighbors on the South American continent support Guyana and agree that this state of affairs cannot continue.